Potters. Alright, I'm back to do version 2. This one is going to be same list from version 1 of the scavenger hunt, but this will be completions. So if you didn't see version 1, I will link that down below. But yeah, let's just jump into this big old pile. So I think when I started the scavenger hunt list in the other video, the first topic was jewelry, and I had showed the blank canvas of the Indian woman with all her jewelry. So when I was doing this list, trying to put it together last night, going through all my old albums, I came across her and figured I would start with her and go ahead and continue that theme. So this is one of the very first crystal completions I ever did. So this will give you an idea of what the crystal partials tend to look like when they're done in this jewelry style. I tend to like them when they're the jewelry partials as far as the crystal work. I mean, crystal partials are fun anyway, but especially when you get opportunity to do the crystal versions in the jewelry, they're extra fun for me. If I remember right, I think that blue stone was supposed to be something different, but it was one of those situations where when I went to place the drill that they had put in the kit for that particular spot, it didn't quite size right as far as like the border was still visible. So that was a different color I went in that just fit the space better. I don't know why that happens, but it does every so often when you do crystal partials, especially with the larger stones. For some reason, some of the stones they'll throw in don't actually cover the spot that they designate for that one. So that's one bonus of having spares, is I could go in real quick and be like, all right, this one will work. So yeah, that is my jewelry pick. So the second one, book, was a little bit tricky because I couldn't actually find too much in my completions that had a book in it. The only ones I could really come across were this little partial I did a long time ago of this bookshelf one. You've probably seen this all over in full drill. A lot of people have done versions of this in full drill. It's not as widely found in a partial, so years ago when I found it in a partial, I snatched it up because I do like the image, but anytime I've seen it done in a completion, it's always looked a little bit messy to me. I think it's one of those ones that the details on it are so small, like all the little characters and the little book nooks, they're so small in the original art that unless you go super big, it just looks very blurry and messy to me. So I got the partial for a couple bucks years ago on eBay and figured I'll just have that in my little collection. So I had that one for book, but then I also came across this one, which is a Headless Horseman from Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I did this one Halloween, I think about 3 years ago. And it didn't come with crystals. I just figured, just to make it extra fancy and spooky, I did some red crystal in the eyeball of the horse there for my spares, and then threw in some yellow crystal for the jack-o'-lantern light inside. I think everything else I kept the same as it was graphed. So that was my book category. Third one is makeup. I think that's one of my larger canvases in here. This is when I first started getting into a little bit larger canvases beyond like the standard 30 by 40 when I first started diamond painting. I think this was originally like, I think it was one of those ones that the canvas was 40 by 50, but the actual drilling is closer to 35 by 45, I think. So yeah, when I first moved into this canvas, I felt so accomplished, but a little bit scared, but it's not that bad. So this is makeup. I figured it's pretty obvious she's wearing at least a little bit of makeup, at least a strong red lip, which the majority of us are not born with. This is my little Christmas 20s, 30s lady in a fur lined or fur edged coat. So that's makeup. Number 4 is cup. so let me see. I think that was another one of my partials. I gotta find it in here. Where are you at, girl? I just saw her. Oh, okay, just down in here. So this is my pick for a cup. Close up on that. Another partial. Basically just the dress and the hair. This was something I added. This was just printed on there. There wasn't actually anything to drill back there, but it looked a little bit odd and undone. So I think I did this one a few years ago, and I think these are originally stickers I had pulled from the Dollar Tree, I think, a Dollar Tree find, and I ended up just gluing them on there just to give it a little something, make the background look a little bit more sensical. And then I also did crystal work in her necklace, which wasn't plotted that way, but I felt like it needed a little something extra. So yeah, threw in some extra pink and purple crystals down in the necklace. I think everything else. Oh, the other thing I changed was, I think there was, in the original plotting, there was a lot more gray in her hair. And I don't know, I didn't want all the gray in her hair. So I made her just a darker brunette with some red highlights in there. Other than that, I kept it almost the same, except I changed most of it on that one. So that was my cup option for her little stemless wine glass there. Okay, number 5 is flowers. So for that one, I picked my ocean rose that I did last year or the year before. That gradation in the rose surprisingly took me a long time. I wasn't expecting that. This was all more color blocking. I thought this was going to take a long time, but this was just a lot of lining that went really quick. But doing the layers in the rose for some reason took me a while. But I love how this one came out. So that's my flowers pick. Number 6 is cat. So for that one I went with Big Cat. This is, I think it was advertised as a 35 by 35, but again, drill size was more like 30 by 30. And this is a full crystal tiger cuddle. Very cute. Number 7 was hat. So that one, I picked my Christmas moose I did a couple years ago. I don't know if it's going to show up, but I did throw some ABs in the Christmas strands. Some yellow and green ABs. I don't know how well you're going to see those. I also threw a little red crystal up in his hat. And I thought I had put green ABs in the holly on his hat, but maybe not. But overall, very cute. So the hat pick is obviously the beanie or the toboggan, depending on which part of the country you're from. So that's hat pick. Let's see, number 9 is plant. So I mentioned the Tin Me canvases I had in the last video, and I did the Tin Me book by the ocean window thing. So I thought I would bring out one of my other Tin Me ones in case you hadn't seen this one up close for the plant pick. But this is my autumn Adirondack. I think that's what I ended up calling this one, because I don't think Tin Me actually named any of their kits. So for logging purposes, I think that's what I called this one, was Autumn Adirondack. There's a lot of ABs that came with this kit, which are probably going to show up pretty nice on camera. They actually came with the kit, and a lot of them actually. So all up in the trees up there, all those orange ABs, and I think there were some green ABs down in Even in the water area, all the green and orange ABs, that was all included in the kit. The one edit I had to make on this one was the mug. The mug wasn't very easy to see when it was first graphed, so I had to go in and make a few little edits to make it a little bit more standoutish. So I put some blue crystal on the mug handle and then used some white AB on the steam part of it so that it would show up a little bit better on the chair. Yeah, overall, love how this one came out. So that's what I picked for plant. Let's see, what's the next one? 9 musical instrument. What did I pick for musical? Oh, I remember. Okay, so musical instrument was another one that I didn't have a lot of picks for as far as completions, so I pulled a couple. I recently did this one. This is a knockoff Randall Spangler one. I mean, it is a Randall Spangler image, but as far as like it wasn't produced through any premium company. I found this on Amazon years ago and picked it up, but it's gonna be a little bit hard to see probably because it wasn't that well graphed. Overall, I don't think it looks too bad for being just like a budget 30 by 40, but this was another one where I had to make some edits to make this pop out a little bit better, because originally this was all just straight orange and yellow standard drills, and I thought that was going to be lost in a lot of it because they were almost the same color as like the belly and the hands and everything. So I used some of the same colors but then added some yellow crystal just to designate where the handle of the mandolin was. So I had that one, and then when I was going through that, I also remembered I had Rainbow Elvis. So kind of musical instrument, right? Let's see, the next one, Moon. Let's see, what did I pick for Moon? Oh, okay. Moon, I picked my sad, beachy anime girl that I did a few years ago, because the moon is up there. Barely there, but it is in there. But yeah, she comes out a lot better through the camera. When you look up close to her in person, it's kind of hard to make out some of the details, but when you stand back, you can see a lot more details as far as the dress, and you can even kind of make out an expression on her face. That's why I call her sad anime girl. She's got a little bit of a purse down here, and just, either got some really bad news or is really contemplating some tough decisions in life, and sometimes taking it to the beach makes it a little bit easier, right? So that's Moon option. Number 11 is Window. So for that one, I pulled out my red dress dancer, because I don't know if you can tell, but she's standing in front of one of those big panoramic windows with, those are supposed to be some trees in the back. And it's hard to tell with all the skirt. But that's one reason why I thought this was a really cool image to do a few years ago. That skirt took me forever to do all the different colors in, but it was worth it when it came out like that. But yeah, I think when I push it back, you can tell a little bit better. There's a window back there in her studio. 12 red hair. So originally I pulled out my Sea Queen with the fish ears, because I figured, yeah, she's got some little bit of ginger to her. But if that's not red enough, I also have her in my completions pile, which this was another one that I found years ago, one of those random Amazon finds. Had to do a lot of work on her face to make it a little bit cleaner, and I feel like I did some color differences from the way it was plotted around her bangs to make it a little bit more defined, because I think that was one of the areas where they were using a color on her bangs that was very similar to her skin tone, so it kind of made it look like she just had a lot of forehead. So yeah, that was one area where I went back in and went just a little bit darker, so it looked like she had just really warm tone highlights or something. I don't think I changed too much on her, if I remember. She was pretty straightforward to do. I think the biggest difference was it didn't come with any specials, but I decided to throw just a few red and green crystals up in the flower crown. So those are my redheads. Let's see what's next. 13. That's where Vader comes in. Because I was like, what am I going to use as a weapon? And then I remembered I had this Vader one where he's holding a lightsaber. But I love this one because he's riding a little Star Wars, one of those quarter rides. It's a little kid Vader. And there wasn't a lot I did as far as edits on this one. I mean, obviously, I put the crystals in there because this didn't come with any specials, but I put the crystals in there so it would look a little bit more like a lightsaber lit up. I think I put the red crystal on there. And then the one area I was struggling with a little bit was the way it was graphed. His hands and feet here were getting a little bit lost in the top of the ride. So that's why I put some of those crystals in there to try to make like a little bit of a handle or something, so it would show up a little bit better, to try to give some definition of like where his leg was in relation to the handle. And then I put some working lights on the little power thing there. Oh, and then a few little crystals up in the helmet and the eyes, just so some of those details would stand out a little bit better. So yeah, that's my weapon one. Mythical creature. Not Lucy. She's for the last topic. This is my mythical creature. This is my gothic unicorn that I did, I want to say about 4 years ago, I think. Crystal partial. This was another one that took me a little while to to place all these, because the hair strands and also these oil slick style ABs. One of the issues I ran in with those is this particular kit, they all had those little filament hang off pieces on virtually all these drills. So that was another thing. Took me a long time with sitting there and with a fine pair of tweezers pulling off all of those AB what do you call it, the AB coating filaments that come on sometimes, that are like those little strings that hang off the edge, sitting there and pulling them all off so that I would have enough to finish, because this was pretty early on in my diamond painting experience as far as like collecting and completing canvases. So at that point I didn't really have that much as far as spares, so I had to work with whatever came with the kits, and that's why I had to put time into salvaging all these drills with all the little filaments coming off of it. But it was worth it because I still really love this piece and how sparkly it is. So yeah, that is mythical creature. I figured gothic unicorn is pretty mythical, right? And the last one is food, so that one I pulled out Lucy's cookies. That's why I had Lucy out. This was another one where the face coloring was really off the way it was graphed, so I had to work a lot to get it to where it looked more like Lucy from the cartoons. The way it was originally graphed, she was very, very pink. As I'm sure a lot of you have experienced with doing portrait versions of your own, whether it's more realistic portraits or cartoon characters. For some reason, a lot of the programming that goes into picking drills for faces, for some reason they go really pink a lot of the times, and sometimes it works, but a lot of times you got to make shading edits to where it looks a little bit more normal. And this, I couldn't get it perfectly matched to what you typically see in like the Peanuts cartoons and all that, but I figured the way I could get her, at least here, she just looks like she's been baking a lot, and maybe she's a little glistening from baking cookies all day. I figured that was the look I was going for. That's as close as I could get to getting her halfway normal looking. but I still love how this one came out. There were a lot of other edits I remember making to this one so that each of the cookies would stand out better, because this was another one where I think it only had like maybe 15, 16 colors total, something like that, where it was just like, it was one of those ones where it's like all the cookies are brown, all the trees are green, and it was just all a wash of everything. And when I started looking at that and trying to plot it out, I realized that was going to be a mess and when it started coming together. So I went back in with spares and tried to pick out different colors for all the different cookies so that they would stand out better. And I remember I had to make an edit down here because the whatever wording was on there, it didn't come out. So, and I know it was supposed to be a flower bag, so I just ended up putting FL in drills. And then there's some eggs down here which come out better through the camera, but they still look a little bit messy with the naked eye, but they're a lot better than what it was originally. But I think when I was originally looking at how this was plotted, they're supposed to be like, this brown down here, this is supposed to be the table, and then you have the eggs and all that, and then the gingerbread guy over here. I think originally the way it was plotted, those were all the same color. So yeah, that's why I had to spend some time and figure out, okay, how can I do the shading a little bit better so that you can see some of the flowers spill and some of the broken egg and all of that. And I think I made the dough in the bowl a different color so that you could see that there was something in there, because I think originally they plotted that as all the same as the bowl, and you just had this black border here. So I ended up throwing a little bit of yellow in there so that it would look like she's making some kind of dough. And then the crystals, I threw that in there just to clean it up because there were a lot of weird splotchy spots. It wasn't the greatest printing. Again, this was another one I found on Amazon, I think. And when I got it, like, Lucy looked all right, but there was a lot in the background that was very splotchy and messy looking, and so I had to go slow and figure out how I could best cover that up and clean it up. But in the end, taking time with it, she came out really nice. So that is Scavenger Hunt version 2 of my completions. Again, if you want to play along, whether you want to do the version of, you know, doing the blank canvases, or you want to do this where you go through your completions, either way, I used the same list, so I will put the list down below if you want to play along. And as I said in the last video, if you have a channel, if you want to do one of these videos, anything like that, if you want to comment down in the comments below and say, hey, I have a channel, I don't have a problem with that. Shout out. Shout out yourself. I don't care. It helps with some of the crafting community pages, because like I mentioned in the last video, crafting communities, and especially diamond art, they're not the biggest push up the YouTube algorithm. They take a while to get into people's eyeballs compared to other topics that are going around online. So if I can help a little bit and give you a space where you can have one more spot where you can put your name and say, hey, I have a channel, I'm happy to do that. So that's all I have for today. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. We will talk soon. Bye, guys.